Hold on tight, Cules. Because what just shook the Camp Nou isn't just another headline. It's the kind of seismic event that even the most die-hard fans, those who still dream of the 1992 Champions League glory, never saw coming. Today, the Blaugrana sky split in two. And no, I'm not talking about a last-minute stunner from LAMINE YAMAL, though that kid keeps dominating the headlines like it's his job. This is bigger, more unexpected, and juicier than a threaded pass from PEDRI under high pressure. Let's break down the bombshell that's left the entire Barça world stunned, eyes wide, and phones overheating on social media. We're talking about a sunny day in Barcelona. The Camp Nou isn't quite shining yet. It's still not fully ready to welcome fans, with workers racing against the clock. Rumors about Monic, yes, that Monic, are still floating around like a bad pass from Frenkie de Jong on an off day. And then, boom, the news hits like a lightning bolt over the city. FC Barcelona, the club that's been navigating financial storms and flashes of footballing genius for years, just dropped a bombshell that no one, absolutely no one, saw coming. Want to know what it is? Of course you do, because if you're reading this, your Cule heart is beating loud and proud. But first, let me set the mood like Hansi Flick giving instructions from the bench. The rumor started circulating this morning, first as a whisper in the bars of La Rambla, where servers couldn't decide whether to serve coffee or straight-up shots to calm the nerves. Then, social media, the battleground where Cules and Madridistas hurl insults like penalty kicks, exploded. Joan Laporta, the president who always seems to have an ace up his sleeve, or at least makes us believe he does, pulled off a move in the shadows that left the sports press speechless. This isn't about a new signing. It's not a contract extension. It's not even a new sponsor with a logo that looks like it was drawn by a kid on Microsoft Paint. No, Cules. This is something much bigger, something that could change the course of the club for years to come. Ready for the scoop? Because this is the kind of news that makes you jump off the couch and scream at the TV, even if it's turned off. Let's get straight to the point. Barça has signed a historic agreement with an international consortium that not only injects an obscene amount of money into the club's coffers, but also secures a long-term project to modernize the club from the ground up. Yes, Cules, we're talking about a deal that makes the €80 million Florentino Perez was supposedly offering Barça look like pocket change. This consortium, led by a top-tier tech company, and no, it's not the one that makes phones that shatter at the first drop, has put a massive investment on the table. This will allow Barça not just to breathe financially but to dream big. And what does dreaming big mean? Well, for starters, forgetting the player registration nightmares that have haunted Laporta since his return to the presidency. But let's take it step by step. This isn't a match against Elche where you can relax after the 60th minute. The agreement has multiple layers, and that's where things get interesting. First, the financial aspect. Barça, which has been performing financial acrobatics for years like a traveling circus, now has a cushion that allows them to look at the transfer market without selling their soul. Remember when it seemed like we had to sell GAVI just to pay the Camp Nou's electricity bill? No more. That's ancient history now. This money doesn't just cover the most urgent debts, it also gives the club room to go after that left-winger Hansi Flick has been begging for since he arrived, and realized Rafinha alone isn't enough. And speaking of recruitment, here's the second bombshell. This deal doesn't just bring money, it brings a network of contacts that puts Barça in pole position to pull off moves that previously seemed like science fiction. Heard of Rafael Leão? Yes, that Leão, the Milan crack who dribbles like the ball is glued to his boot and makes defenders look silly. Well, Barça is now in the front row to try and sign him. They're not throwing money around, though with Laporta, you never know, but the club is no longer in a position to beg for favors in the market. Leão, with his speed, dribbles, and ability to turn defenders into training cones, would fit like a glove into Flick's system. And if you're already losing your mind at the thought of Leão in a Blaugrana jersey, subscribe to the channel, because what's coming in the next few days could be even wilder. But wait, there's more, Cules. This agreement also includes a plan to modernize the club's infrastructure. The Camp Nou, that sacred temple under construction for months, is about to get a boost that will transform it from just a stadium into a tech and entertainment hub. Imagine a stadium where you won't just see Lewandowski scoring penalties but also enjoy immersive experiences, VIP areas straight out of a sci-fi movie, and, who knows, maybe even a hologram of Johan Cruyff giving a tactical masterclass before kickoff. It sounds crazy, but with this consortium backing them, Barça is stepping full force into the 21st century. Now, not everything is sunshine and roses, because this is Barça, and there's always drama worthy of a telenovela. Some are saying this deal might come with fine print. What if the consortium starts meddling in sporting decisions? What if Laporta sold a piece of the club's soul in exchange for stability? The skeptics are already raising an eyebrow, like when the referee awards a dubious penalty in stoppage time. But let's be honest, after years of watching the club wobble like a house of cards, any news that smells like stability is like finding water in the desert. Plus, Laporta isn't a rookie. The man who brought in Ronaldinho and survived the chaos of Bartomeu knows how to play his cards. Right. Let's talk about Hansi Flick, because this bombshell doesn't just affect the boardroom, it affects the pitch, too. The German, who arrived with a "I'm going to clean up this circus" attitude, is happier than a kid with a new ball. This deal gives him the peace of mind to know he won't have to improvise lineups because half the team isn't registered. Flick, who's already proven he can work miracles with what he has, 7 comebacks in La Liga, who saw that coming, now has the chance to shape a team in his image. And no, I'm not talking about a Bayern 2.0, though I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to bring in a few Germans to balance the locker room. For now, his plan remains to bet on LAMINE Yamal, GAVI, Fermin, what gems, while reinforcing the squad with names that can make a real difference. So, Kules, buckle up. This isn't just another rumor, it's a turning point. The Camp Nou is about to roar again, and with this deal, Barça isn't just dreaming, it's building. The question now is, what's next? Because if there's one thing we know, it's that with this club, the drama never stops, and neither does the glory. And here's the third bombshell, because this isn't just about LEWANDOWSKI and futuristic stadiums. The agreement also includes a strong commitment to grassroots football. Yes, Kules, La Masia remains the heart of the club, and this consortium knows it. Part of the investment will go towards strengthening the youth academy with training programs that ensure the next Lamine Yamal won't just emerge from La Masia but will arrive in the first team ready to conquer the world. Imagine a lowbrow Chelsea, that 18-year-old Croatian just signed by Barça Athletic, making the jump to the first team in a few years. Because I can picture it, and honestly, it makes my mouth water. But let's not fool ourselves, Kules, the road ahead won't be easy. Barça still has challenges to face. The defense, for example, remains a headache. Conceding 2 goals in 2 match days isn't exactly something to brag about. And then there's the issue of departures. Iñaki Peña is 1 foot out the door to Elche, Oriol Romeu might be next to pack his bags, and there are rumors that even Fermin could be on other clubs' radar if he isn't protected. But with this deal, the club has more room to maneuver. It's no longer about selling the crown jewels just to survive, it's about making strategic decisions. And if Flick keeps tightening the screws like he has been, I wouldn't be surprised to see this Barça fighting for everything. By the way, speaking of fighting, what about the reactions on social media? The Kules are divided, as always. On one side, there are those already planning the party at the Font de Canalides, convinced this deal marks the start of a new golden era. On the other, there are those who see ghosts everywhere and think it's a deal with the devil. And then there's the Madridistas, who couldn't resist chiming in, whining on X about Barça making giant strides while they're still debating whether Mbappé is better than Vinicius. But let's leave the neighbors in their bubble and focus on what matters to us. If you want to stay up to date with every detail of this new Blaugrana era, hit that subscribe button, because you won't see this on the evening news. Now, let's take a moment to breathe. Because this bombshell has as many layers as an onion. And you know what? There's even more. The agreement also opens the door to international collaborations that could take Barça to new markets. Yes, Kules, the club doesn't just want to dominate in Europe but also in Asia, the Americas, and who knows, maybe even Mars. Okay, space colonization is a joke, or is it? These collaborations include football academies, sponsors, and even possible tours that will make the Blaugrana crest visible in every corner of the planet. Imagine Lamine Yamal dribbling in a friendly match in Tokyo or Lewandowski scoring a hat trick in Los Angeles. Barça is thinking big, and this deal is proof. But it's not all futurism and grand dreams. We also need to talk about the immediate challenges. The next match at Vallecas won't be a walk in the park, and Flick knows it. Lewandowski is working hard to reclaim his spot in the starting 11, and with the penalty he won in the last game, it seems he's ready to silence the critics. Meanwhile, bald as in the eye of the storm because of that controversial penalty that's still causing uproar on TV with Matu Lahoz. But if there's one thing this Barça has proven, it's that it can turn things around against all odds. 7 comebacks in La Liga aren't a fluke, and with this new financial boost, the team has everything it needs to keep defying expectations. And we can't forget about the youngsters. Lamine Yamal, that kid who seems like he was born with a ball at his feet, remains the great Cule hope. Every time he touches the ball, it's like the spirit of Messi descends onto the pitch. And then there's Marc Bernal, who, even though he's injured until after the break, looks like another gem. With this deal, Barça isn't just securing the present, it's laying the foundation for a future where La Masia continues to be the envy of everyone. In the end, Cules, this is just the beginning. Today's thunderclap is a sign that Barça is back, and while the road won't be easy, there are reasons to dream. Laporta has played his cards, Flick is bringing order to the locker room, and the players are stepping up. What's next? A star signing? A Camp Nou worthy of a Spielberg movie? Or maybe an even bigger surprise that leaves us all jaw-dropped? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Being a Cule has never been this exciting. So, if you want to keep riding this Blaugrana roller coaster with us, subscribe to the channel, because what's coming promises to be epic. Cules, we're still buzzing from the adrenaline of this bombshell that shook the foundations of FC Barcelona like a scissor-kick goal in the dying minutes of a final. The air in the city is electric, and not just because of the storms threatening the Catalan coast this week. No. This is pure Blaugrana energy, a mix of hope, uncertainty, and that feeling that big change is on the horizon. We're in the eye of the storm, and as true Cules, we love being at the center of the action, hearts racing and heads full of dreams for the club's future. So, without moving an inch from this moment, let's dive into the juiciest details of this historic deal that has everyone talking, from the socios at the Palau Blaugrana to the fans sharing memes on X like there's no tomorrow. Let's break down who's really behind this consortium that decided to bet on Barça like it's the investment of the century. It's not just a deep-pocketed tech company, right? This group is made up of heavyweights, an Asian tech giant, a North American investment firm with experience in sports and entertainment, and, here's the kicker, a European foundation that has been working for years on sustainable innovation projects. It might sound like an odd mix, but in the modern football world, where euros and algorithms matter as much as goals, this combination is like a well-oiled offensive trident. Each brings something unique to the table. The tech company provides the expertise to digitize the club. The Americans know how to turn a team into a global brand, and the foundation ensures the project has a positive social impact. Yes, Cules, Barça doesn't just want to win titles, it wants to be a leader in sustainability and technology. Who would have thought that a few years ago, when it seemed like the club was closer to bankruptcy than a Nobel Prize? Let's talk now about what this means for the daily life of the club, because one thing is signing an agreement with lots of zeros in the contract, and another is seeing how it translates onto the pitch, in the stands, and in the Cule soul. To start, this money won't just be used to pay off debts or recruit superstars, although rest assured, a significant part of the budget will be dedicated to that. It will also be used to improve the training facilities at the Ciutat Esportiva Joan Gamper. Imagine the La Masia youth players training on pitches with cutting-edge technology, sensors analyzing every pass, every sprint, every dribble. Because that's exactly what's on the horizon. The idea is that the future GAVIs and PEDRIs won't just have talent, but also the most advanced tools to refine it. And that's not all. The consortium also wants to implement artificial intelligence programs to optimize talent scouting. Yes, Cules, Barça could be on the verge of finding the next Messi in a lost village in Argentina or a favela in Brazil thanks to an algorithm. Science in the service of tiki-taka. But let's not stay only at La Masia, because the impact of this agreement goes much further. The Camp Nou, this colossus under construction for months as if it were a Gothic cathedral, is about to become much more than a stadium. The plans include not only modernizing the stands and access, but also creating a digital ecosystem that will make the stadium experience something unique. We're talking about apps that guide you to your seat without getting lost in the corridors, interactive screens that show you real-time replays from the angle you want, and even the possibility of ordering a beer from your phone without waiting in line. And what about an augmented reality system that would allow you to relive the best moments in Barca's history while you wait for the match to start? No, I'm not exaggerating, Cules. This consortium has the ambition to make the Camp Nou a place where football and technology join hands. And if that doesn't give you goosebumps, I don't know what will. And speaking of goosebumps, what about the supporters? Because this agreement doesn't just benefit the club, but also the everyday Kules. One of the most interesting clauses in the contract is the creation of a global program for socios and fans. Imagine this: exclusive discounts for socios on tickets, merchandise, and even VIP experiences, like meeting the players or attending a training session. But that's not all. There's also talk of a digital platform that will connect Kules from all over the world, from those who live 2 streets away from the Camp Nou to those who follow Barça from a bar in Jakarta. This platform will allow fans to participate in club decisions. Nothing about selling the stadium, rest assured, like voting on jersey designs or choosing charitable initiatives that the club will support. It's as if Laporta said, "Okay, Kules, you are the soul of the club, so we're going to give you more of a voice." And if that moves you as much as it does me, subscribe to the channel, because what's coming in the next few months is going to be crazy and you won't want to miss it. Now, not everything is technology and futuristic dreams. We also need to talk about the immediate impact on the team. Hansi Flick, this German with the face of a strict professor but who knows how to make the dressing room smile, is rubbing his hands together. With this agreement, the coach has more room to plan the season without the stress of wondering if he'll be able to register his players. And watch out, because Flick isn't the type to settle for what he has. Sources close to the club say he's already working with Deco, the sporting director, to identify key reinforcements. In addition to Rafael Leão, whose name still resonates strongly, there's renewed interest in a midfielder who could complement GAVI and PEDRI. Names? Well, rumors point to a couple of Premier League players, but there's also an eye on South America, where Barça has always found gold. I'm not going to drop names because I don't want to be accused of making things up, but let's say the market is hotter than a paella in August. And while Flick plans his next tactical move, the current players also have reasons to be motivated. Robert Lewandowski, who recently turned 37 and trains as if he were 27, knows that this agreement could offer him one last year of glory at Barça. Imagine the Pole receiving pinpoint passes from a Leão or a new signing, with Lamine Yamal running like crazy on the right wing. And what about Rafinha? The Brazilian, who started the season like a rocket by scoring against Mallorca and Levante, proves that he doesn't need to be on the bench to shine. But with this new financial boost, the competition in attack is going to get interesting. Will Rafinha be able to keep his place, or will we see a new star steal the show from him? The answer, Kules, is on the pitch, and I don't plan to miss a minute of it. By the way, we can't forget the impact this has on the rest of La Liga. While Barça celebrates, the other teams are looking sideways, some with envy, others with concern. In Madrid, for example, they've already started whispering that this agreement is suspicious, typical, right? But beyond the jabs, this move puts Barça in a position of strength it hasn't had in years. La Liga, which already has its own problems, like financial restrictions and controversies with referees, now has to deal with a Barça that isn't just competitive on the sporting level, but also on the economic level. And that, my friends, changes the rules of the game. But not everything is perfect, because this is Barça, and here there's always a but. Some socios are worried about how this money will be managed. Will it all be spent on star signings, or will it be invested wisely? The memory of recent years, with signings that didn't deliver the expected results. Yes, we're all thinking of a certain French player I won't name, means that supporters are keeping a critical eye. Additionally, there are rumors that the consortium could demand certain changes in the club structure, like greater professionalization of some departments. And what does that mean? No one knows yet, but the word transparency is resonating a lot in the club's offices. Laporta, who is no novice in these matters, will have to show that he can manage this agreement without losing the Kules DNA. And speaking of DNA, let's talk for a moment about the club's values, because one thing is signing million-dollar agreements, and another is maintaining the essence of what makes Barça more than a club. This consortium seems to understand that, or at least that's what the official statements say. Part of the investment will go to social projects, such as programs to promote football in disadvantaged communities and campaigns to encourage gender equality in sports. Barça Femení, which is already a global powerhouse, will also benefit from this boost with plans to expand its reach and continue to be a reference. Imagine Alexia Putellas leading an even stronger team with a women's academy that produces stars like her every year. Because I can imagine it, and frankly, it gives me chills. On a more practical level, this agreement also has implications for supporters who can't make it to the Camp Nou every weekend. The consortium is working on a strategy to make Barça more accessible globally. This includes high-quality streaming broadcasts with personalized options so that cules around the world can follow matches as if they were in the stands. And what about a subscription that gives you access to exclusive content, like player interviews, training footage, and even tactical discussions with Flick? If that whets your appetite, don't forget to subscribe, because we will cover every detail of this new Blaugrana era, and believe me, you won't want to miss it. Meanwhile, in the locker room, the players are starting to feel the impact of this bombshell. Insider sources say the atmosphere is optimistic but also under pressure, because, of course, with more resources come higher expectations. Cules don't just want to win, they want to crush the competition, and the players know it. GAVI, with that grit that makes him look like a bull on the pitch, is more motivated than ever. PEDRI, who seems to play with a GPS in his head, is working on his fitness to avoid injuries, and even Ter Stegen, who faces rumors about his future, shows a professionalism that silences the critics. This agreement gives everyone one more reason to give their all, because they know the whole world is watching. And we can't forget the rivals, because this bombshell doesn't just affect Barça, but all of European football. Teams like Manchester City, PSG, or Bayern Munich, who are used to seeing Barça as a fallen giant, now have to rethink their strategies. Could Barça become that team that made all of Europe tremble again? The answer, cules, lies in the coming months. But one thing is certain, with this agreement, the club has taken a giant step toward reclaiming its place at the top. And if that's not a reason to stay glued to the screen, I don't know what is. In summary, this bombshell is much more than a big check. It's a statement of intent, a bet on the future, and proof that Barça, even in its worst moments, always finds a way to rise again. So, cules, get ready, because the 2025-26 season promises to be an epic journey. From the offices to the pitch, from LAMINE to the stands, FC Barcelona is ready to write a new chapter in its history, and we'll be there to tell every pass, every goal, every comeback. Cules, we are still buzzing from the shockwave of this bombshell that has placed FC Barcelona at the center of the football universe. The city is buzzing, not just because of the Mediterranean summer heat, but also because of the Blaugrana fever that has erupted after this agreement that seems straight out of a Hollywood script. It's as if Joan Laporta walked into a poker game with his pockets full and said, "I'm going all in." And believe me, the rest of the football world is looking at the table with a poker face, wondering how Barça has once again managed to pull a rabbit out of its hat. So, without moving an inch from this moment, let's continue analyzing the details of this masterstroke that has all cules dreaming, phones in hand and the Blaugrana crest tattooed in their hearts. Let's start with an aspect we haven't discussed yet, the impact of this consortium on the Barça brand globally. Let's be honest, FC Barcelona is not just a football club, it's a religion with more than 350 million followers worldwide. And this agreement is not only aimed at strengthening the team on the pitch, but also at transforming Barça into a global entertainment titan. The consortium has plans to expand the club's presence in markets where football is booming, such as the United States, India, and Southeast Asia.
Oh.
Well, for starters, they are working on creating exclusive content that won't just make lifelong cules shout, "Visca el Barça," but will also hook new supporters. Imagine documentaries about the club's history, fiction series inspired by LAMINE, or even interactive video games where you can play as LAMINE YAMAL and break the backs of Real Madrid defenders from the comfort of your couch. This isn't just football, cules, it's a media empire in the making. And speaking of media, the consortium isn't doing things by halves. One aspect of this agreement includes an alliance with a leading streaming platform. No, it's not the one you're thinking of, although that one would probably like to join the party too. This platform is ready to produce original content that will carry the cule spirit to screens around the world. Imagine a reality show following the daily lives of LAMINE youth players, showing their dreams, sacrifices, and those magical moments when one of them scores a stunning goal in a youth match. Or maybe a program like Drive to Survive, but focused on the inner workings of Barça, with Hansi Flick giving tactical lectures, Laporta negotiating in the offices, and players joking around in the locker room. This kind of content will not only captivate supporters but also generate revenue that will make the club less dependent on the ups and downs of the transfer market. And if that gives you chills, subscribe to the channel, because we will break down every new development in this project as if we were Pep Guardiola analyzing a match. But it's not just glamour and screens. This agreement also has a direct impact on the club's management, and that's where things get interesting. The consortium isn't just bringing money, but also expertise. They've brought in a team of consultants who seem like they stepped out of a Wall Street movie, with impeccable suits and a knowledge of the sports business that's dizzying. These experts are working side by side with Barca's management to optimize processes that, frankly, have been held together with duct tape for years. One example: player contract management. For too long, the club has had to deal with poorly structured agreements, bonuses that exploded like rockets, and clauses that seemed written on a paper napkin. Now, with this injection of professionalism, Barça is reviewing every contract to ensure there are no nasty surprises. This not only protects the club's finances but also gives players peace of mind, knowing their salaries will arrive on time and without drama. And speaking of players, this agreement also has an effect on the contract extension market. With fresh money in the coffers, Barça can afford to secure its stars. GAVI, for example, this whirlwind who seems to play with a V8 engine in his chest, is on the radar of several European giants. But with this new economic backing, the club is preparing an offer to extend his contract with a release clause that would make any sheik tremble. The same goes for PEDRI, who, despite injury issues, remains the brain of the team. And let's not forget Araujo, that central defender who seems like a human wall and has been key to the team's defensive solidity. Well, when there aren't controversial penalties involved. The club's message is clear: our jewels are not for sale, and this agreement gives them the financial means to back it up. But it's not just about defense and control. The consortium is also pushing for Barça to be more aggressive in the sponsorship market. For years, the club has relied on deals with big brands like Nike or Spotify, but now they're exploring new frontiers. We're talking about potential partnerships with emerging tech companies, AI startups, and even luxury brands that want to associate themselves with Barca's prestige. Imagine a Blaugrana jersey with a futuristic logo that glows in the dark, or a deal with a watch brand for a limited edition with the club's crest. It sounds like science fiction, but with this consortium, anything is possible. And that's not all. They're also working on micro-sponsorships, like deals with local businesses in key markets, so that Barça isn't just a global club, but also a close neighbor in every corner of the world. Let's talk now about a topic that always concerns Queues, the supporters, because in the end, Barça would be nothing without the millions of people who sing the anthem at the top of their lungs, who suffer with every shot off the crossbar, and who celebrate every goal as if it were the last. This agreement includes a plan to bring the club closer to its supporters, especially the younger ones. The consortium is investing in initiatives to connect with Generation Z and Generation Alpha, who will be the decision-makers of the future. Well, for starters, they're developing an app that won't just keep you updated on club news, but will also let you customize your supporter experience. Want to receive alerts every time LAMINE YAMAL touches the ball? Done. Want a wallpaper of Lewandowski celebrating a goal? That's possible too. Or maybe an interactive game where you can pick your own starting 11 and compete with other Queues. All of this is on the way, Queues, and it's just the beginning. And speaking of supporters, we can't forget the impact on the penis. Barca's penis, these bastions of Queues passion spread across the world, will also benefit from this agreement. The consortium is working on a program to strengthen the penis, offering resources like exclusive broadcasts, virtual conferences with former players, and even the possibility of organizing official events with the club's support. Imagine a Pena in Mexico watching a match live with commentary from a legend like Carlos Puyol, or a Pena in Japan organizing a grassroots football tournament with Barca's seal of approval. This not only strengthens the bond with supporters, but also turns the penis into ambassadors of the Barca brand in every corner of the planet. But it's not all digital and globalization. There are also details that affect the club's daily life in Barcelona. For example, the consortium is promoting a plan to improve the experience for socios at the Camp Nou or Montjuic while the stadium is under construction. This includes better access for people with reduced mobility, down to food areas that won't make you feel like you're paying a fortune for a ham sandwich. And speaking of food, there's talk that they're negotiating with renowned chefs to create an exclusive menu for the stadium's VIP areas. Yes, Queues, you might soon be eating a dish designed by a Michelin-starred chef while watching Lewandowski tear through defenses. Who said football couldn't be gourmet? And while the club prepares for this bright future, we can't forget the present, because even if this agreement is a game-changer, Barca still has matches to play and points to score. The next clash at Vallecas is an important test, and Hansi Flick knows it. The German is working on new rotations to keep the team fresh, especially now that he has more options thanks to economic stability. For example, it said he's considering giving more minutes to Ferran Torres, who, although not always a starter, has a knack for goals that can be decisive in key moments. And then there's the case of Ansu Fati, who continues to fight to regain his best form. With this agreement, the club has the resources to give Ansu the time he needs without the pressure of having to sell him to balance the books. On a tactical level, Flick is also taking advantage of this moment to experiment. Sources close to the technical team say he's testing a system with 3 midfielders that would allow PEDRI and GAVI to shine without sacrificing defensive solidity. And although the defense remains the Achilles heel, that bald penalty still stings, Flick is working to improve the build-up from the back. With players like Cubarsí and Araujo, Barça has the potential to be a wall, but they need to fine-tune the details. And with the consortium support, Flick has the peace of mind to focus on football without worrying about financial dramas. By the way, we cannot overlook the impact on Barça Feminine, because even though the attention is often on the men's team, Jonathan Giraldez's girls are a global powerhouse, and this agreement benefits them as well. The consortium is allocating part of the budget to strengthen women's football, with plans to improve training facilities, hire more specialized staff, and expand the team's presence in international competitions. Imagine Aitana Bonmati leading an even more competitive team with new players to complement her magic. Barça Feminine is already a reference, but with this boost, it could become an absolute dominator of European football. And while all this is happening, social media continues to buzz. The Cules are divided between those who are already planning the celebration at Plaça Sant Jaume and those who are still looking for the fine print in the agreement. But one thing is certain, this bombshell has reignited the hopes of supporters who have experienced too many disappointments in recent years. And if you want to stay up to date with every twist in this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because this is just the beginning of a new Blaugrana era that promises strong emotions. In the end, Cules, this agreement is like a pass from De Jong at just the right moment, precise, unexpected, and with the potential to change the game. From the modernization of the Camp Nou to the global expansion of the brand, through the strengthening of La Masia and the boost to women's football, Barça is taking giant steps to reclaim its throne as the king of football. So, take out your scarves, turn up the volume of the anthem, and get ready, because FC Barcelona is ready to write a new page in its legend.